welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kane Daniel.
Welcome, and today we're thrilled to have Byron Paz with us. Hi, Byron.
Hey, Kane.
Byron is the CEO and founder of Paz Organization. He has over 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience, and he currently leads a life insurance agency. He's also recently earned his MBA in sports management and marketing.
Hey, Byron, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Joe. Great to be here with you guys.
So one of the questions I like to start out with is I always think about, when I was 5, 6 years old, what did I want to be when I grew up? And the mortgage industry that I'm in, the life insurance industry as well, wasn't on my top. If I could count to 100, it wasn't on my top 100. So I'm interested to know what led you to this incredibly fascinating and fun industry.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. Well, yeah, you're totally right. I haven't met that child that dreams to say, yeah, I want to sell life insurance when I grow up and run an insurance agency. No, so my plan was to become a soccer player, really. I mean, I love soccer. I grew up playing it. I got to pretty good levels at the juvenile leagues in my country. I'm originally from Guatemala. And that was the dream, right? To actually play professional soccer. But then, of course, we emigrated to Canada. I was still very young when we came to this wonderful country. And then, of course, that dream had to be put to the rest. At about age 18, 19, I realized, okay, this may not happen. And of course it didn't, right? So then so my original plan was actually to then become an engineer. I figured I was good at math and physics, right? So engineering should be a good path. But my story is a little bit, unconventional in the sense that I came to the country as a refugee. When you're a refugee, you're considered an international student, a bit of a buzzword these days, Mm-hmm. And then I had to then decide, okay, well, I can't do traditional post-secondary education. I have to get a job. I got a job. Realized I didn't want to work with my hands. I wanted to actually talk to people. That led me to the industry. And here we are 22 years later.
Wow. I actually, we never talked about it. I didn't know that. How do you think that shaped or changed, or in what way do you think it did shape or change being a refugee or coming into the country?
Well, I think it was a great blessing because we were here. At the end, we were not where we were not supposed to be. We were exactly where we were supposed to be. And just, when you arrive to a new country at age 17, you're really not so young that you can grow up here. You kind of already had your forming years. So in my mind, 17 years old, I thought, yeah, I was going to play soccer like I told you, but then of course that wasn't going to happen. And then, okay, well, the next thing is, well, I got to go to school and earn a degree. In my culture, we associate success with education 99% of the time. That's what you grow up with, right? Like, unless you don't have a degree, you won't make it, sort of thing, right? So that was it, right? So, and then do you guys remember OAC? Kane, you may not remember OAC. Joe may remember OAC,
yeah.
Right? OAC. I did the OACs, grade 13.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Got accepted to Mac, Ryerson, and Western. Could not attend any of those 3 fine institutions. Ended up looking up opportunities in sales. Found an agency in Toronto. The company's AIL, right? The carrier is AIL. Mm-hmm. I actually thought I was going for an AOL interview,
You're really making references to back in the day. OAG, AOL, AOL. I don't know if AOL was America Online.
That's right.
And if anybody needs to know what that is, you can Google it.
or ask your parents.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought I was going to an AOL interview, and it's like I came back home and my mother asked me, how'd your interview go with AOL? I said, no, it's actually AIL. Oh, what are they? It's a life insurance company. It seems like a great opportunity. I want to do it, I said. And listen, by the grace of God, they gave me a chance, and I've never updated my resume since.
That's an amazing story. So what is interesting to me is when you went to the interview, they had a compelling story for you and maybe a compelling vision.
That's
What
right.
was that? What attracted you when you went to that interview and you thought, you know what? Yeah, I want to do this.
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe, because I honestly, after attending the information session about the business model and all that, very honest with you, I probably understood 20% of it, but it's just an emotion that you get that, I walked into an office at Young and Eglinton, beautiful building, nice, views of of Midtown Toronto. And I'm like, seeing awards on the walls of the at the time agency owner. And I thought, man, this is a place I want to work in. People well dressed. And I'm like, this is a place I want to work in. So at the end, I thought, well, I saw success by the metric I had in my head about what success looks like, a successful business, a running organization. And then, of course, there was stuff about the business model, but I was 20 years old, so I couldn't tell you that I understood everything about it. I really didn't. I was just going on the emotion I had in that moment, if that makes sense.
I'm wondering, so you're a young guy, you wanted to go to university, to school. That didn't work, so you got into sales. What was it like that first few months? Was it what you expected? Was it what you wanted? Was it harder than you thought? Was it easier? What was the experience?
So, I counted. I tried to quit 17 times in the first year, but then I never sent the email, right? So I listen, there's a saying, every master was once a disaster, right? I was not very good initially, but I promised myself I would not give up. I would not give up. And quite frankly, being 20 years old, going into people's homes, discussing death, funeral, and these sensitive issues, which they are, people would often look at me and say, well, this kid, we got grandchildren older than him, right? But he's here, he's trying to do good work. And I think people respected that I was trying to be very, very serious and good at my job. But it wasn't necessarily easy initially. No, I wouldn't say that. And it shouldn't be when this industry can give you so much in the latter years of your success, But I was the type of agent that I would go into a home to offer the life insurance and often walk away purchasing something from my prospects. I had a couple of those instances that it's like, yeah, I didn't, close a deal, but I did get this from them anyway, So
That's great. You went into somebody's home, and being so young and new to the industry, do you remember, did you rely on discussing the background of AIL as a whole to help give you that credibility that maybe you felt or your client or your prospect felt that you lacked?
That was a small point of influence, I would say, Joe. I think that in our business, I think that till today it's true. People will do business with an agent they like and trust, right?
Got it. Yeah.
It's relationship based. Of course, representing a strong brand with a track record is always going to be important for a client to do business with, right? And of course, AIL had already been at the time around 70, 75 years, with policyholders across Canada and the United States. But it was more of how to build that relationship and get them to trust me and knowing that I was going to do a good job for them. And that I relied a lot on my mentor. My mentor said to me, listen, Byron, you are young. You can't hide your age, but you can behave in a way where that's not a problem. And that's just on your presentation, So you got to look great. You got to sound great. You got to act great. Age is not a factor as long as you don't think it's a factor. So that was great advice he gave me. And he said, just make sure you always look great, look the part, look the part. And the rest, work at it daily and you will find clients. And I did, obviously.
We talk about AI and its influence and how that's replaced certain aspects of the insurance industry and relationships. I'd like to get your take on this because one of the things that we've seen is the advent of the online ability to purchase insurance And really, it looks like when a company is using it as a commodity as opposed to, anything to do with a relationship. Maybe a couple of parts to this question. First, how important do you think the part of the relationship is between you and your clients and advisors and their clients going forward? And do you think that is ever going to be replaced by an AI presence of some type?
It's a great question, and it's a question that is definitely surfacing a lot lately with all the technology that we have. So the short answer is no, I don't believe that's going to replace human to human interaction when it comes to these things, because just like, in the pandemic, we shifted to a digital environment, right? And that was needed at the time to safeguard health and people, right? There is something irreplaceable, I believe, in human to human interactions. The job of any salesperson, regardless of a product or service, in our business, of course, is protecting families and protecting people, but it's always to improve the relative condition of their prospect, right? So that is, after this transaction, they are going to be relatively in a better place. And I think that's part of human nature, to want to have an advisor or someone to educate you in a subject in which they're experts in, so that you can make the best decision for yourself and your family. Yes, there is going to be consumers that will prefer that part of it, right? Just like, there's a market for everything, I tend to compare it with gamers, like, I don't know how huge the gaming industry is, but it's just massive, right? And gamers will be gamers. They love their games when they're online. It's like, cancel out the noise, no people, just me and my screen. So there's going to be consumers like that for life insurance. I know that. But there's also going to be a vast that want that human touch. And that's where I feel like we're going to be okay, as long as we keep working on our people skills.
And Byron, what do you think about, we talk a lot about this as well, and on the mortgage side and the life side, about the role of AI and what may happen. There's a consensus that the human experience, the human soul, the human touch is at least that for now needed and wanted. You mentioned earlier about mentorship. So I'm wondering, for the role of technology in regards to mentorship, like when you're joining an organization, has technology changed that? And is that now a thought, doing, maybe meetings over Zoom? And is there anything lost there? And how are you handling that with your agency?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We, Kane, we use technology a lot. We automate a lot of things. We use the power of AI to, answer simple questions. There's chatbots today that can do, a lot, really. But we try to use it in the things that don't matter the most, that can be easily handled by technology. What I mean by that is that, you can't resolve sometimes a conflict about anything with AI. It's a human being that will do that will pick up the phone and, let's say, solve a situation, handle a claim. One of the parts that I feel is so important in our industry is the handling of claims. And I think that the human touch in those moments where families really need their agent and their company to respond is irreplaceable by artificial intelligence. And though we use, a lot of automations, AI, we try to incorporate it wherever we see fit, right? We want to stay true to the fact that we are serving people. We're serving families, and the reason why they bought from us is because they liked us and they trusted us to protect them with sound protection and good policies. And we want to fulfill that promise by being there when they need us the most. And in the claim process, I think that the more human element you involve in that process, so people feel taken care of, they feel heard, they feel like, no, they're responding to me, my claim is coming, the check's in the mail, and the satisfaction I receive when a client tells you, we got the check, it's more than what we expected. It's hard to put that in terms of compensation or anything like that. You really know you're actually just helping people.
That is something, it's a fantastic point, because it's very, very rarely discussed. There's a lot of talk about getting clients, the front end, building your business, but the relationship, and yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like without having a good relationship with your client when there's that claim and you're going to present that to them, or you're involved with that part of the process. When it comes to that, what was that like the first few times that you did that? To me, that feels like it would be very emotional, very impactful. And maybe if you could tell us how that strengthened a relationship, or how that really changed your outlook on the insurance industry.
Absolutely, Joe. If anything, my first claim solidified my career. When I actually had my first client claim, and the first person passing away from my client list, it was actually a very, very unreal story. So what happened is, remember I told you my offices were at Yonge and Eglinton, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one day, it was a Thursday, I remember this vividly. I was driving home after dialing some appointments for the following day. And right about a block away from the office, there's a street called Holly Avenue, or Holly Street, right off of Yonge and Eglinton. And there used to be a Starbucks there. Listen to this. So I'm driving by, there's a fire truck and there's an ambulance, and I'm like, oh man, what happened here, right? This is a Thursday night, right? The following week, on a Tuesday, I get a phone call, and it turns out I remember the name because I had just presented to this person about a year prior, and it was the daughter of one of my clients. Now, the daughter at the time, she was transitioning from school to work and having a hard time to find a stable job. She said, Byron, I appreciate the offer. I can't responsibly purchase the insurance right now because I know I'm not going to be able to keep it. I said, listen, if you can't keep it, I'd rather you not do it because it's not going to do what it's meant to do for your family, right? Just keep you in mind, no problem. But her parents were my clients, right? So this daughter of my clients calls me, and I recognize the voice right away. Oh, hi, Vanessa. And all I hear is silence on the other line. This is Byron? You go, yeah, this is Byron. And then it's like, my mother passed away last week from a massive heart attack at a Starbucks at Yonge and Eglinton.
Wow.
That was her. My client was having a meeting half a block away from my office, and I'm like, oh my God, was that the one on Holly Avenue? She says, yes. I said, I didn't know that was your mom, but I saw the ambulance. I worked there, close. And then helping them to get that claim processed and getting that check into their hands was very fulfilling. And the story about this lady is such that, her husband, who's still around till today, I actually met them about a month ago. He was suggesting that he get more insurance than her because she was perfectly healthy and he had been recently diagnosed with diabetes. Now, that's a high risk applicant, right? Mm-hmm. Luckily, he got approved, but they decided to put more insurance on him than on her, right? And it turns out a year later, it's she who's gone, right? So that actually happened to me. That's what solidified my career in this company and this industry, more than 17, 18 years ago. Yeah.
I think just going back to what Joe said, I can feel your passion coming through. And I think this is often missed when people think about this industry, about being a life insurance agent, that those stories stay with you and those people will stay with you. And it sounds like it, like you said, solidified, motivates you in your career. I'm sure you have a bunch of other stories maybe like that or similar to that one. So that is really, really amazing to hear.
And if whoever's listening to this right now, if that doesn't tell you that, you know what, you need insurance. If that doesn't flip the switch that you need insurance, then you need to hear some more stories, because there are plenty like that. Life happens every day, and people need that protection.
But Byron, those coming in, I know you touched a little bit on this. Is there anything else that was surprising to you about the industry, or that you found unexpected, or even now those coming in to the industry? Is there any misconceptions maybe about the role of the agent or what's required to be successful?
Yes, I think there's a misconception. I wouldn't say it's it's to relate to our industry. I think it's just a misconception in general that any career that you go into, because it could be the same with mortgages, real estate, life insurance. There's a lot of parallels in those three, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that is that you have to commit to the process of getting really good in your business. So I think the general misconception people have is that, oh, I can make a lot of money really quickly. And that's just not true. In most cases, it's a numbers game and it's a skills game. You have to do a lot of work. That's the numbers, the reps, the presentations, the calls, all that. But then that's what gets you the skills. And as your skills increase, as your confidence level increases, right? Then you can do really well. Now, I don't want to say that you cannot make a lot of money. No, there's people that make six figures in their first year, but they're also working very hard. You know, they're working very hard. So it's not that the potential is there. It's great potential. Sometimes I feel that generally speaking, it's not just related to our industry. You know, the consensus is that, it's easy to get into business and to do something and to earn a revenue. And that's where I think sometimes there's a disconnect. Not with everyone, of course, but just a general thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a great point. The barrier to entry in several of these industries is fairly low, right? Especially when you consider the fact that you can make a six-figure income and significantly more than that. And if you compare that to being a doctor or an engineer, the amount of school and money that goes into that education, you're absolutely right. But it's not, as you say, it's not a get rich. Your career will be short if you think it is, right? This is a career. And, I think, as Kane mentioned, your passion comes through and it's fantastic to see.
For those maybe considering one of these careers, any maybe commission sales, even becoming an entrepreneur, even outside those industries, is there anything that you think, like, what are you looking for a new entrepreneur that you could say, okay, you can do hard work? What are the attributes that will lead someone to be like that? We talk a lot about resilience. You mentioned having a mentor. Anything else you can help maybe our listeners feel like, okay, if I want to do this, this is either what I need to do or who I need to be?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've actually asked myself that question, is what would the ideal sort of candidate look like for me? And I try to describe them in 5 qualities, right? Maybe 4 at times, but for sure, if they have these 5, they're ideal to the industry, not just the life insurance, as you said, be it the mortgage industry, be it to go into real estate. But these are my top 5 of qualities and individuals that I believe if they have these, they have a great chance of building a great business, building a great career, and seeing themselves, riding into the sunset with this career in life insurance. Number 1 is they have to have a positive attitude in the face of adversity. Like, it's very easy to be positive when everything's going well, right? It's very easy to keep dancing when the music is playing. But what happens when the music is not playing? What happens when you have a challenge? That's when it really matters to have a positive attitude in the face of adversity. And I think that's a decision people have to make to display that. Not an easy decision to make when things are not going so well, but I think it's something that people can control 90% of the time. That's number 1. Number 2, to have an exemplary work ethic and discipline. This one I can't give to people. They either have it or they don't. My mentor used to tell me, Byron, you can't put in people what God left out, So they have to have that discipline, that wanting to succeed. It's the person that if the appointment is at 9 a.m., they're outside by 8:45, not 9:15, 90% of the time again, Then also people that have a business athlete mentality, people that want to beat their best numbers in the past, a tennis player, the Olympics right now, of course, everyone's trying to beat their own record, right? It's having that mentality that you want to do better than you did yesterday. And it's always you versus you, not you versus No, it's you versus you. What you did yesterday, you got to do better today. What you did a year ago, you got to do a little bit more this year. That's very important. Number 4 competence with technology. Listen, we live in a world today that if you don't know how to use the basic technology, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for anyone entering, So that is your Zooms, your applications, your platforms, everything that you use to conduct your business. You got to be a master of it and not let it control you. Some people are controlled by technology. Some people control technology, right? And then the last one, I look for people that want to lead, that want to help other people. Because when you actually serve others and you want to help others be successful, you get what you want, So those are the top 5 that I look for. So if anybody's listening to get into this industry, and I think they apply to the other 2 industries really well, be it a great mortgage agent or a great realtor. One of my good friends is a great realtor. And he agrees on this list, right? We kind of exchange notes sometimes. It's like, yeah, man, same list for us, But those would be the top 5 qualities to look for in a candidate for me.
I think the really important thing to note there for those listeners that are considering is, other than maybe the technology, none of those are really soft skills. Those are things that if you, like you said, if you make a decision to do this, it's almost like anyone, if they want to, soft skills will help and you can learn those over time. But those are kind of, I understand you're saying is like the core characteristics that you look for. So I think that's a really important thing to put out there. I really like how you summarized it, because that's some of the questions that we get at Remic. We're a school, we do the courses, and people will ask, what should I put on my resume? What should I be saying during an interview? And I think our response mirrors that, what you just said. So we love to hear that.
So Byron, with your agency, when you onboard somebody, what's that process like? Maybe you could share, you found somebody who has those 5 qualities, and you want to bring them on. What's your process look like?
Great question. So, when we contact someone for the very first time, right? First of all, we want to know what they have done before, right? And we don't necessarily always look for someone with industry experience, because we know, like some of the things I just talked about right now could come from different experiences in industries, right? We always welcome industry experience, of course. That's not a reason for us not to look at a candidate. Basically, we look for what they've done in the past. So if there is anyone that has maybe customer service, so a client-facing person, right? Anyone, obviously, that has done sales, anyone that has led teams, anyone that has a lot of extracurricular activities. Sometimes I call someone not because of what they went to school for, but because they were the head of the volleyball team, because they were the captain of the hockey team. That's the extracurricular stuff, sometimes not because they studied microbiology and they have a specialization in rocket scientists, but they were the captain of the hockey team, So that sometimes is more interesting to me. And I can tell you right now, my top person today in my organization, who's my top 2 people, let's say, they went to school in industries not related to the life insurance industry. One has a master's in mathematics and it was a PhD candidate. She did not pursue it because ended up being here and working and being very successful, and a bachelor's in civil engineering. And the other one has a master's in political science and a degree in sociology, right? Both from University of Waterloo, right? So go figure, right? And I graduated high school, and eventually I got my PhD, my master's in sports management and marketing, but that was just later. That's so that my kids couldn't tell me you didn't go to school, Dad. I have that, right? So it's like, I did go to school and you're going to go to school too. So we look for those types of experiences. Hospitality also, great candidates. But we don't necessarily only look for that, because we know that at the end, there could be great people with completely different backgrounds. And as long as they're open to exploring the business model, we have a conversation with them over the phone. We explain to them the process that, listen, this is American Income Life. We're a division of Globe Life. We are looking for individuals that have an entrepreneurial spirit, that may want to explore the business model of life insurance, that has this potential upside, residual income in the future. And if they're open, then we ask them to attend an online career session. And that's where I basically let them know who we are, what we do, how we do it, what makes us unique, why people of different backgrounds have been successful, so that they can be armed with information and make an informed career decision. Then they can submit a form to our agency saying, these are the reasons why I think I could be a good fit. We match that form to a manager or myself to set up a final interview via Zoom or live. And that's where we make the final decision as to whether or not they should join our team and, of course, start their licensing process with Remic. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Tell me a bit about that. What piqued my interest there was the session that you do where you talk to them about the industry. Do you find, I mean, I would imagine that there must be some light bulb moments there for people that you're talking to where they start to see the potential and, you know what, I could see myself doing this. Have you had that happen before where somebody's come up to you right after and said, you know, I didn't know this and this is fantastic?
Yeah, it happens often. And, you know, what I tried to do in that information session, Joe, is I tried to really elevate the stories of my team members, you know. Mm-hmm. For the first 10 years of my career, I was talking about my story. And you know, that was the story I was talking about. Today, I really just elevate their stories because I've been fortunate enough to work with others where they're experiencing life-changing success. So now it's really edifying and building them up because at the end, they are the result of let's say, me developing them, working with them, but they're now developing others and working with people, you know? So today, what I do is I try to elevate and edify the stories of my leaders, the people that work in my organization. All the while, of course, they get to know who I am. And of course, knowing that there's a great vision to build a business, because as you said, and I said, this is a career. It's not a job, and it should not be approached with an employee mentality. It should be approached with an entrepreneurial spirit, with an employer mentality, you know? So yeah, it happens where the life insurance industry is one of the few in the world that it's a multi-trillion dollar industry, but we're not in the news though, you know, we're not a Tesla. It's not a cool industry. You know what I'm saying? But it's a multi-trillion dollar industry and it's not going anywhere. That's the other thing.
After you bring a new agent on, or even for yourself when you started, maybe things have changed quite a bit over time. What does their first week look like? Maybe their first month or 3 months? Is there like a path for them, or is it all over the map? And what does it maybe even like a typical day look like for those new entrepreneurs?
Good question. So, you know, the beginning is learning, particularly in our agency, right, is learning our sales process. You know, we want to make sure that someone is equipped with the process of getting to, you know, an appointment, delivering a great presentation, and then, of course, you know, getting referrals and closing a sale. So we work a lot on the sales process. So the first week would be basically making sure that they know exactly how to do it. You know, we live by this saying. I took it from a book. It's like, the more you sweat in training, the less you'll bleed in battle, right? Mm-hmm. And by that, we mean know your presentation. I actually wrote a white paper on this. And I talk about script memorization. It's actually on my LinkedIn page. You can take a look at it after. And what I talk about there, and it's science-backed, it's like an agent that is nervous when handling a client, the client will sense that, right? You know, but an agent that is confident and it's actually delivering their presentation in a very confident manner, that in the eyes of a client will show up as competent, as confident, you know, and that's ultimately anyone that is going to do business with a life insurance agent. They want to see that confidence in their advisor. Yeah, bless you.
Thank you. I don't know if you want to. You know what? We'll. I don't think we can cut my sneeze out because you were making a good point there, but. If we keep it in, I'm sorry I had to sneeze. And
actually just reminded me, Byron, going back to what you said near the beginning when you were coming in and you were young and coming into, you know, being a life insurance agent, talking to people, as you mentioned, that are, you know, maybe much older. And so how do you build authority and credibility? I think, I mean, you really hit it on the head, you know, being dressed properly, knowing your stuff. I think that's a big part of it. I had the same experience early on in my career. I looked younger as well. And so I think it really was.
You still do.
Making not as young though, making sure that you really know your stuff well so you can answer questions effectively. I think that's a big part of it. And then, as Joe mentioned, being able to leverage from the brand. Like when you're training those new agents, is that something that you now as a mentor sort of hammer in, especially those that are maybe coming in younger? Because you do see more coming in that are younger. And then anything else any other advice for those that are maybe the younger people coming in? Is anything specific they should be considering?
Yeah. For them to really work hard on themselves, work as hard on themselves or harder on themselves that they do on the job. Working hard on the job will get you far. You can make a good living if you work hard on the job. But if you work hard on yourself, you can really unlock the fortune that this industry has. And by that, I mean putting 100% responsibility on developing your skills. Because there's one thing where, there's a law of averages. And the law of averages says that, if I see so many people, the law of averages says for me that I'm going to convert so many. But that's a variable that I can improve based on my skills. Because, I always say there's two types of folks that join this business. There's those that are awkward and those that are natural. When you're natural, it means you have an existing skill set that is a match to the business. You're great with people. You have high levels of empathy. No matter where you go, you can always build rapport with others. And you were the, employee of the month. You were the key holder. You were the rock star in the party. You're a natural. Well, that's great. If you have that skill set coming in, then you apply yourself to the business model and platform. You can excel very quickly. But if you're awkward, like I was, okay, well, you don't have that skill set, right? You don't have that skill set. Well, that means you have to work really hard to learn it. The person I am today was not the person I was 22 years ago when I started in the industry. The thought of being in a podcast, I would have probably said, no, I can't talk, right?
Any video of you from 20 years ago?
There is a couple of VHS, yeah, somewhere, yeah.
That's the master from Disaster.
Yeah, that's where that quote comes from, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, right? So, and what I would encourage anyone going into life insurance, mortgages, or real estate is just work on your people skills, work on your ability to connect with others, work on your rapport building. And, I love our region, our territory. We are in the greater Toronto area. I think we are so blessed to be in this part of the world, serving people from everywhere in the world. I think it's absolutely fascinating that I have clients from every corner of the world, and I have team members in my agency. There's 14 languages spoken. How amazing is that? Wow. That I have 14 different languages we can serve people. So I love that part. But whether you're awkward or natural, there's a great opportunity to make a fascinating career and a great living in this business. It's just knowing which one which person what the person is, and then applying themselves to up their skills. That would be the advice I give to those considering this.
Yeah, there's, and sorry, Joe, if you wanted to jump in. Something stuck with me that Byron, that you said is empathy, and that's something that we don't really talk about a lot and don't hear about, I think, enough. I'm wondering if you can just expand on that a little bit and talk about what role you think empathy has in negotiation and conversations and consultations. Especially those, particularly in life insurance, where I think that's probably, obviously a very obvious skill set to have, or a very obvious characteristic.
Absolutely. I think, empathy, and the client has to honestly feel that this person is listening to me and will guide me to the best decision. If the client doesn't feel, and that's not something rational, by the way, it's the irrational brain that can sort of generate empathy feelings towards another human being. And this is from, realistically, this is from our reptilian brain keeps us safe. You know what I'm saying? This is the, 200,000-year-old brain we have. And that's not a rational brain. It's something people feel or they don't feel, So I tell my advisors, listen, when you meet a client, the client's going to think this: is this person charming? Or is this person alarming? How you present yourself will dictate that. Are you listening to them? Are you mirroring their responses? Are you actually present in the moment? Are you with them, or are you with them while you're checking your cell phone or worried about your next appointment? If that's what you're doing, you don't deserve their business. You have to be present and with them so that you can actually resolve or try to help them. And know that you're not going to help everyone that you meet. And if they sense that you're just there to help them and you're not desperate to to write business or to get a sale per se, that actually the more business you're going to get, because they realize he or she is just here to help me, right? But empathy plays a big role, because I think what people lack, and it's just training. They need training and they need guidance for it. I think it's a skill anyone can learn.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Did it come natural for you? Like, are you an empathetic person and then you just realize after that, oh, this is a good skill set to have? Or was that something that you had to work on because you saw the opportunity?
No, I would say it's something that I had to work on and nurture. I think that just like any skill that you realize is important for your business, you have to identify it, nurture it, and maximize it, right? And understand that that is a skill that when you have and you care for clients, it's good for everyone. It's good for the clients and it's good for you. We say in our business, when you take care of your client, the client will take care of you. But I think it's part of our training modules that we teach the act of mirroring, which is for better listening to a client and all that. So it's something that I know. Like, I don't know great life insurance agents that are not, like, I don't know one actually, not just in my practice, in any practice. They all have great levels of empathy, and they're great with people, great with rapport. And they're the type of people who can diffuse any situation, bring it down to the basics, and let families see, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is why. Definitely.
I think that the point that you made about being present is really significant. You think about other roles. If I was having a heart attack, I wouldn't want my EMT to be thinking about, I wonder what I'm going to do tonight. I wonder what I'm going to spend my money on this weekend. And it's the same thing in this industry, right? We have to look at individuals, our prospects and our clients, as the center of attention when we're there. Just personally, I remember I had a mentor who taught me many years ago, when you go up to somebody's door and you ring the doorbell or knock on the door, everything is now behind you. What, you're having a bad day, you don't know if you can afford your car payment, the kids are screaming, you're going through a divorce, all of that just has to blow away, and then you're just focusing on the person you're with. And I think that your point about being present is something that sometimes people miss.
100%. I actually, my mentor, something similar to that, they taught me is that when I used to knock on the door, he used to ask, "What time is it, Byron?" I go, "Well, it's 3:57. Wrong answer. It's showtime. You're now going in, and this is all that matters right now. Turn off your phone, turn out your devices, pay attention to your client."
I think that, I really love that as well. I know Joe and I talk a lot about that as well. It can be a challenge at times, especially as Joe mentioned, we all have things going on in our lives and we're human, and it does affect us. But that's something that I think can, as you mentioned, be learned, or at least practiced to get better and better at doing that, as is other, I think you touched on it earlier. If you have those 5 characteristics that you talked about, you can really build up your soft skills very quickly, right? Being able to have sales skills, using different tones and different pauses and making eye contact and mirroring and all the things you talked about, that can all be learned by seemingly anyone.
You have to have the right mentor to learn that from, right? Because you can learn that very quickly with the right person or the right team, the right, in your case, the right agency. Or you can make the mistake and join an agency or a brokerage that kind of just puts you out there on your own. And these are skills that you find that you have to learn on your own. It's much easier, I think, to do some due diligence and get to know who you might be joining and what they can offer. And that's one of the reasons we love talking, Byron, is that it's nice to be able to share what you do. And your history and your past it's very relatable, right? And people coming into the industry, I think they gravitate to you and your agency in particular because you have a compelling story. Every day, it's just a story.
That's right. Stories and moments. Yeah.
Stories and moments.
I guess just one more thing before, I don't know if Joe, if you had one to continue, but you just sort of sparked for me. For those that are coming in, and I know you hire a lot of great people. So those that are coming in, what should they be looking for when they're researching? What should they be looking for online? What should they be looking for when they're interviewing? What questions should they be asking? What things should they be considering on the other end, trying to find the right mentor or the right company to be with?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know what? I believe that when considering the life insurance industry, so there's two paths, really. There's the path of a captive team and there's a path of a brokerage, right? And it's just the person has to know, okay, what is best for them, for the person, right? I believe that in a captive agency, like our agency, you work inside of a team. There's layers of management, there's support, and there's a sales process that can be taught, transferred, and potentialized, let's just say. There's great potential there. And, it's interesting. I'm very proud of this, that there's a lot of people that I've onboarded to the industry, okay, that spend with me 1 year up to 5 years, in some cases. They've stayed in the industry. They've gone on to brokerages and other things, but they come back and say, Byron, the stuff you taught me at AIL, I'm still using it all today. So what we know is that we are a great door opener for individuals to enter the industry, get great training, hands-on training, to then succeed, be it in the captive environment like I chose to stay with one company, right? Or in the brokerage world, accessing different companies, So going back to your question, what should they be looking for? Depending on who they are, I believe everybody needs great training. And if you are the person that you like to learn from others and feed off the energy of a mentor, an upline, a figure in an agency, then the agency environment for, captive agencies like our agency here, Paz Organization here in Oakville, would be a great place to start. If you want to be more of a solo sort of performer and just kind of do your own business and build your book, maybe the brokerage part is better, because then you have more freedom to just try this, try that. Maybe not the support and training that a sales squad would have, but more of, the solopreneur type of idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think people that start exploring the industry will very quickly understand and realize what that means and the benefits, especially when they enter in. But I think that those types of soft skills and training, not that we would push for that, but even if they do exit the industry, that can really help them. It sounds like you're doing really, really wonderful training. And I'm sure those that do end up leaving the industry will still benefit from that help that you've provided for them.
Oh, for sure. I believe everyone in life should do sales and collections no matter what.
I get some thick skin for you, right? So Byron, I guess just before we wrap up, I know you mentioned a white paper earlier on your LinkedIn. We'll put that in sort of so our listeners and viewers can see that. But is there any URL or any particular place that you want users to go to find you or get more information on you or your agency?
Yeah, my LinkedIn page is a great place. There's a lot of what I do there. I post often. I engage with my audience there. They can also follow us on LinkedIn at Globe Life AIL Division Paz Organization. I think we have up to 5,000 followers already, mostly individuals, in our territory. But definitely, we have all the socials. Of course, Paz Organization is also on Instagram, and they can contact us through any of those platforms. So my LinkedIn page, the Instagram page would be a great place to start. You would also get to see our culture. Here, actually, some of the testimonials we have from the current team members, a little bit of their stories and what made them choose the insurance industry. And then, of course, specifically Paz Organization and the brand of Globe Life to start off their career and get into this really exciting industry. And just like Joe said, none of them actually thought about being in this industry when they were 5 or 10 years old. But, life brings us to opportunities that we need to seize. And I believe this could be for anyone that approaches us with a vision, a long-term vision and a business mentality. This could be a life-changing career opportunity for many people.
Well, Byron, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you today. And I think, for our listeners and viewers, there's a lot to take away and go over. That'll have a a very positive impact on their careers. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. We really appreciate it. And it's been fantastic.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so much, Kane. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you guys today. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Byron.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media. And for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.